Hello, and this is Ieolia, and I'm not doing a tutorial today, but I'm going to look at like R-Verb from Fabfilter and try to explain it a bit. Hopefully. But yeah, that's the general idea here. So we'll see how that goes with this here. Here it is. So this is Pro R. So if you don't know, like Fabfilter made a reverb, and this is that reverb, and it's really cool. It's got like some really unique things that kind of put it way past most EQs that we have right now. So how it works is basically so there's something called EQing a room. You can do that with like microphones or master EQs on something you're listening to, so that way your speakers sound the way they should for that room. That's all about like the height of the room, the length and width, the materials of like everything in the room and what they're made out of can change the sound of something that comes out of a speaker, or likewise something that's recorded, because a speaker and a microphone are the exact same thing. So what's cool about this is you can use this like blue graph to design a room if you know what you're doing. You don't really have to know too much what you're doing. You just have to know what frequencies you want heavily reverbed and which ones you want like not. So you can decay rate like this, and like, oh, say I don't want 880 hertz, so I'm just going to do that. So like that in the piano is going to have like this right here will have nothing. And I don't know if there's a way to listen to it, but you can turn it off and on. And then there's like some really weird like filtering and EQ spectrums here that look really freaky. This is cool about this room. If you want to get really intense, you can really sculpt something. Like for example, if we come onto the regular cathedral, this is what it has done. It is because the size of a cathedral and the fact that like low frequencies travel better in distance than high ones, and they also travel better in bending and stuff. This has to do with their wavelength. It's a physics thing. But high ones don't. They usually dissipate very, very fast because of their tiny wavelengths compared to the low ones. And their speed, like they move much faster than low ones, low waves do as well. So in a cathedral, when someone is talking, you're going to hear a lot of low end out of their voice. Like in the reverb. So this is going to be a lot of low end. Lots and lots of that. So the decay rate isn't necessarily like slower for the high ones. They just come louder because of their reflection abilities. They stay louder longer than the high ones do, but they generally decay around the same, like for the most part, until like around the high end. They usually will decay faster. This is again because they just move faster and they can't bend as well as the low end, but this doesn't mean the low end will come faster or anything, because like energy reasons of like waves and laws and stuff, but the high end will be more muffled because there's like way more distance and they just run out faster. So like this is basically like a sculpted kind of cathedral. This is blue line. Everything up here decays slower. You don't hear the high as much, and you hear the low more in a cathedral. And like this is like this is how cathedral works if you want to know what it looks like for reverb. So yeah, there is a pre-built-in EQ, by the way, and like it's not the most accurate thing in the world compared to this, but still very helpful. As far as I know, you can cut things in here. And it's kind of like EQing it here as well. I believe this works the same as an EQ. So that's cool, because a lot of EQs, when they say like they have a cut of some sort in them, for example, let's see, where is it? RC48. So an RC48, please switch this up to like large hall or something. So here, there's a high cut, right here. There is no low cut though, and Bitwig is like this as well. There is no low or high cut. You have to actually do it with an equalizer in the post, and then I believe Ableton's reverb here. I can never find the things. This as well has a low and high cut for the input processing, right? But not for the output processing, so you're gonna get like bleeding, and this cut isn't actually like a cut as the same way as like an EQ can have like a 4 slope, and then you can cut frequencies like this. It's not the same. There is a difference between this cut and this cut here. Even if this was like a regular cut, this reverb here isn't actually necessarily doing this sort of cut here. There's a lot of bleeding. So basically what it means when it says it's cutting is like it's just lowering the decay time. So like, say if I didn't have this EQ in here, what it's basically doing is it's like, it has a really, really hard like decay time like this. But the matter of the fact is there's still a percentage of decay, so there is still low end in there, which can easily make things muddy. So this is more or less how plugins like this cut. So what's cool about this one is you can have this, and then you look like you get a cut here, and you can just change the slew to 24, and just drag it in wherever you want. So you don't want this stuff. You don't know. Let's do like 300 hertz. So now, my piano is going to sound like this. It's hard to play the piano with it behind my laptop. But I've gotten rid of all that, and if I mute it, so here it is completely gone. And the only problem with this, though, is again, if you use this as like an actual, I think this will affect the, will it affect the low end? Oh, I think it's, no, sorry. So yeah, the cool thing about this is it only affects the only thing it does is it affects the low end, like, cut of the output of the reverb. So you can actually stick this in a chain like this, cut it here, and it's gone, which is really cool. Because, for example, in Ableton, say you wanted to do that, right? You would need to do something like this. And you could use this low cut, and for the most part, it will work. It's fine. But how I would do it in Bitwig, for example, is I'd have like a slew rate of 4, and then stick it at like 300 hertz. And this would be right out in my chain with my synth or whatever. But what I can do is I can stick it in the like effects section of the reverb, which you can't do in Ableton, which makes me sort of sad. Which means you would have to use like a send track to come back. And the problem with using a return track is for some reason Ableton only lets you have so many. So like if I were to come into the mixer, put this all the way to send A, and then change the volume of send A based on how much reverb I wanted, put my reverb plugins on A, then I'll have a purely clean reverb for whatever it is I'm doing here. And then that's like super, super cool. But in Bitwig, you can do that endlessly. In Ableton, you can't. And like in terms of return tracks, and then like this basically does what Bitwig or some of the other plugins does, where it has an EQ built in for the output. Because in Bitwig, there's like a slot for the wet effects. So basically, that's where the wet goes out, and the dry continues straight through to the next plugin. Well, like, so does the wet effects, but the wet effects has like a slot before it goes to the next plugin, so you can stick in an EQ and remove all the low end. So that way, it's basically like doing the send thing just built in, which is really neat. So this is what this allows you to do, which I think is extremely important for like a Fabfilter quality plugin, it should absolutely be able to do that. Some other things on here is you have like, so if we compare this to like Ableton's reverb, you have like diffusion here, which is going to be something related to your character in Fabfilter with like your clean and chorus stuff, which is over here as well. The diffusion network is kind of like dampening. So that would be more of a decay rate thing, actually. My bad on this. So this is kind of like your diffusion network in Ableton right here. And then your chorus, there is a chorus up here, your character. You have a spin, which is sort of like... I'll try to explain that. Like type of reflections, obviously, but like it has it in, it's in Serum as well. Like if you have, you can put spin on your reverb, and in here, that would probably be related to something with your distance and stereo width. And then you have decay rates, which is this main one here, and then you have your EQ, which is this yellow part, and then pre-delays aren't in here as far as I know. There is no like pre-delay. It's like as natural as it can be. Pre-delay is a very like weird thing to use in my opinion. I usually don't use it. And then things like density and scale, and your dry and wet knob, your mix knob is over here, and you've got like decay times, which is here and here. And sorry, well, like this is your space. And then you have a decay rate here, which will change your space's like formula of decay in a way. So watch out for that. And then obviously the quality of this reverb would always be on like maximum. There is no quality settings. You have size, which is kind of this. I don't know if this one's like distance, or because like there's a difference between distance and then like the width of the room in terms of reverb. So I don't know what this one does here in Ableton. And then stereo mixing, your width. Again, like there's just like, it's a little more simplistic in here, but that's what makes it so like organic kind of sounding, is that it's so simplistic, and like you can't make all these weird changes like in here that just are not realistic, because then you start getting reverb that sounds really fake, because you can't do that in real life. So this is a really nice reverb. And then you have like some quick like sets here, like for room sizes. I think this is supposed to stand for like a church or something, like huge. And I believe this will max out, 20 seconds decay, which is a lot if it was on. If you compress the crap out of that afterwards, you could get like a really cool pad. If I do this here, this is going to be great. This here, though, this style thing with like lots of reverb, probably not that much, but like this is good. Although the OTT will bring back the low end, which is... And then compress the shit out of that again after. Has some cool like patty or like effects for sound effects. This reverb is good for that, which is really cool, you know? Yeah, that's the R-verb. It's got some pretty cool... of sound effects, and like I could play the piano for a minute here just so like you guys can see what it sounds like. I'll try to make it like natural. I'm by no means like a fantastic piano player or anything, but I can I'll just set up some sort of random thing here. I had this going earlier like this. yeah, if you don't know what a mix does in terms of like the realness of this, is the mix is kind of like where's the mic placed. So if it's placed right in front of the piano and facing the piano, you're not going to hear like shit for the reverb, so it's going to be like way low. Throw this in the back of the room facing the wall, you're not even going to hear the mono anything of the piano, you're just going to hear all verbs. That's kind of what that is. So like if you want your piano to be like, this is what you would hear if you plugged your right ear and then stuck your left ear in the corner. You'd probably hear something like this. If you're like at a piano concert or something, you know? So let's see here. It's really hard to play the piano with how I have this set up, my stuff set up. Oh, shit. Like I said, I don't know how to play the piano. It's also very hard to play the piano like the way I am right now with like having my laptop here. Yeah, that's what it sounds like, kind of. I try to play expressive, giant open chords as much as I could for my really poor piano skills. So, yeah, that's what I got. I'm trying to make videos. I'll try to do videos here on my laptop that aren't like super complicated, and see what I can do until I get my PC here. So, yeah, see you soon.